At midnight on Monday, the Water and Sewerage Authority, which is WASA, had the restrictions come into effect where members of the public, you are not allowed to use hose and that kind of thing to wash your vehicle, water your plants, or you can be fined. So we want to chat a little bit about that. With us this morning, the acting CEO of WASA, Mr. Poon King. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, at midnight, the restrictions took effect. Tell us what the public can expect.
Okay. Well, first of all, we can expect a harsh dry season, which is the reason that we've put the water restrictions into force. We work with the meteorological service, and they predicted a harsh dry season, and we've started to see the effects of it. December, we recall October having floods. November had probably normal rainfall, but December was below normal, way below normal. In fact, there was a deficit at our reservoirs between 50 and 60%. So that started to affect us. And in January, we are seeing even lower figures. Working with the Met Services, they predicted that we would have a harsh dry season, and they gave us a band within which to work. So they had a lower limit and an upper limit.
Right.
So for an example, they had set a lower limit at our Hollis Reservoir of 39.7 millimeters of rainfall for the month of January, as compared to a long-term average.
What does that mean?
Well, the long-term average for rainfall at that reservoir is 162.1 millimeters. So that puts into context that they predicted that it would have been harsh. So far, for the month, we've had 19.9 millimeters. So it's even below what they had predicted. Yeah. So given that we are where we are with respect to that, the water use restrictions were put into place. And the focus there is to get people to utilize less water as much as possible, so that when we have less water being used, we have more water available for us to distribute to other people.
And one of the things that would have come out of that is that you're not allowed to use hoses. And you said that WASA officials will be visiting homes at reasonable hours to see what is happening.
Well, it'll be reasonable and unreasonable in some cases, in that we will be doing patrols around the clock. Our security will be going around, because our business is a 24/7 one. Unfortunately, as well, some areas the supply is not what we would like it to be. So you would have supply into some areas would be at night. So, but we will be around the clock doing patrols.
How do people verify that these officials who are coming around are WASA officials? Okay,
the first of all, the water use restrictions, enforcement of that will be through WASA security. So they will be uniformed, and they will all have WASA ID badges as well. But they will be uniformed.
Okay. But it's important because anybody can probably go take somebody's uniform and put it on.
Right.
Because we've heard instances of this before.
Okay, so for WASA, we will have our vehicles, in fact, have stickers on the side. So you'll have a WASA vehicle with uniformed officers in the vehicles.
Is there an ID? Is there a WASA ID that they can ask for?
Everybody has one of these IDs.
Right.
So this is my ID, and they will have similar IDs as well.
We're in the carnival season, and you have a number of these wet fets happening. How is WASA? How does that work? Because isn't that
wasting water?
Well,
right. Well, the whole thing about the dry season we are in now is we want to encourage conservation. So the use of water when you have a wet fet, is not the use we would want to put water to. Water is intended for, we call it potable water. Potable water meaning for drinking, hygiene, cooking, and so on. Using it in a wet fet is not the best use of water. When you use that water for that, somebody somewhere is being deprived of a supply.
But can WASA deal with that in any way so that people don't use the water?
No, when WASA was created, our law, WASA was created in 1965. So the laws at that time didn't foresee wet fets and whatever else. But we will be exploring the law to see how we can apply what we need to apply. When our laws were crafted, water fet wasn't in the
it wasn't
air
a big
at that
thing.
point. Well, it probably didn't exist. It was 1965.
Definitely didn't.
So a lot of the stuff that at that time would have changed to what we are now.
Right.
So we will be exploring the law to see what is applicable.
So that's a loophole in the law which allows it to happen?
I wouldn't call it a loophole. Say we will be looking to see what we can apply where.
Right.
The key message we really want to get is conservation. So a wet fet is not something, we would discourage that as much as possible.
Yeah. But we're talking about conservation. One of the concerns that many people raise is that WASA itself is wasting a lot of water with the amount of broken mains and things across the country.
Right. So we acknowledge that we have a lot of leaks on our pipelines. And in December, we had doubled our efforts. In fact, we doubled the number of leaks we did repair in December. We've had a reduction somewhat in January because of some challenges we've had. But we're looking to ramp up again to try to get those leaks under control. But a lot of people are saying that WASA wastes water. But you have your part to play as well. We will try to do what we can do within what constraints we have. But you need to conserve.
And so one of the messages would be, as you said, conserve. And it's important for people to know this as well.
We have a question from Facebook, and the person is asking Alan Chang, if their standpipe is very low on the ground, can they attach a hose to fill a bucket? So they're not using the hose to do whatever they need to do, but to fill the bucket so that they can get water.
Right, so you can fill a bucket, but the thing is the application of the hose, we don't want you using the hose for
okay, so use something else to fill the...
Correct. Right. And I keep making the point, grass does not die in the dry season. So you don't need to wet grass. Your plants, you need to take care of your plants and use a pail or a bucket to wet your plants.
Okay.
Well, some good advice, and hopefully people would listen, because what are the penalties?
Well, that's a sore point that we have. The penalty under that 1965 law is $75. But we will enforce what we need to enforce, and we are taking steps to have a more realistic fine in the Trinidad and Tobago of today, to have that put into law.